What's up, folks? Welcome back to Tuesday Night Live. It's been a while. I was just sitting around the house, and I'm like, doing some editing. Just been playing a little more music. I thought I would jump on here, say hi to y'all. So what's been cracking? Holiday season. Got a bunch of ice in our area. It's been pretty crazy. It's kind of, I don't know. It's a little bit depressing because it's so cold. It's like I want to go fishing, but I'm definitely not going to be getting out there when it's 20 degrees, whatever. So we're going to have to wait. I think we got more snow coming. I think Friday, they said. So it's going to be a solo show. I think JB might jump on here in a little bit. But just missed y'all. Thought we'd hang out for a little bit, chat, catch up. How's Christmas? Anybody get anything cool? As far as me, just family, man. Just a lot of family stuff. Got Starlink for my parents, which is pretty cool. They were struggling. They had they had HughesNet, which was kind of weird. It's like, what's going on, man? HughesNet's like, seems like it's $70 a month, but they couldn't really do anything with it. They could like get on the internet, but as soon as they started streaming any kind of video, it would, it'd stream for a little bit and then it'd lock up. So basically it's pretty much useless. So me and my sister and my brother went together and got them Starlink, and they're pretty stoked. It was pretty cool seeing their faces when they actually put something on. It wouldn't glitch. It would sit there and think and just keep on rolling. So that was fun. It's always good to give somebody something that they appreciate. It's hard to get people gifts, nowadays, because everybody's got. As you get older, you kind of, hopefully you can afford, within reason, most of the stuff you kind of want. And it's cool to give somebody something that they were frustrated from going through company after company after company and it all just not working. So they'd kind of given up, and they were just kind of like, well, I'm done with it, whatever. But when you give them something and it actually changes and makes their living experience a little bit better, they're out there in the country and stuff. So it was cool. It was a good thing. I'm pretty excited to see see it work. What's up, Mark? Good to see you again. Hope all's well. Yeah, everything is good. It's good to see you guys too. Took a couple weeks off just through the holiday seasons. Had a guest. He's going to come on tonight, and he's going to come back. He's going to come back on sometime in the next couple weeks, but I think it's going to be a really cool show. It's guy who lives in the Lake of the Ozarks area, and he was a major league fishing boat official. And he was supposed to come on tonight, but he's a little bit under the weather, so we canceled on that. But I can't wait to get him on here. I met him down at Fitz's Fishing at Lake of the Ozarks. It was like a couple years ago. I was down there just fishing a BFL and stopped by there to get some I can't remember what it was, some swim baits or something, but ended up having a pretty decent conversation with him, and he told me about his little bit of his experience being a boat official in Major League Fishing. I think he did it for like 6 years. So I was like, that's the kind of guy that would be fun to talk to on a live stream format. And I kind of dropped the ball. I didn't get back with him for a while. And recently we were on a live stream. I was talking about it, and Jay Beffa knows him. So Jay was able to get me his contact information, and I reached out to him, and he's like, heck yeah, I'd love to come on here. So that's what was going to happen tonight. But like I said, there's a lot of crap going on right now. There's like that 17th generation of coronavirus going around. There's the stomach bug going down. We got a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So people have been catching stuff. So far, I've been pretty fortunate. Which is one cool thing about having the kids. I got 2 daughters, and they've been out of school since like right before Christmas. So they haven't been interacting with, however many students there are in that school. A lot of times that's how you get sick. Your kids, whether they're in high school, grade school, or daycare, preschool, whatever, they mingle with all different kinds of folks, and then they bring it back to the hizzo, and everybody's sick. So I think that's why we haven't got sick yet. and they've been off. They were supposed to go back Monday, but as you all know, live in this area, we had some pretty significant winter precipitation and the old Arctic blast came down. So they've been out of school Monday, Tuesday. They're going to be out tomorrow. They might be back Thursday. I'm not sure, but we got some snow coming on Friday. So I would imagine that they're going to be out Friday. So what's up, Matt? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, Dalton, he says Starlink is an amazing piece of equipment. I couldn't imagine not having it after 2 years with it. I just got it probably 2 months ago. I had T-Mobile internet for a while, and it was okay. Actually the tower, I can see the tower from my house. But the issue I was having with them was they had a limited amount of data that they could sell me. I was capped at 150 gigs. It was 100 gigs for like $100, and then you could buy an additional 50 gigs for another $50, basically, something like that, give or take a few dollars. But they couldn't offer me an unlimited plan. Now, my neighbors have T-Mobile. They've lived here like 3 years before we got out here. They have the unlimited plan, but they do that so it doesn't slow down customer speed, which I understand. If you've only got so much bandwidth and so much data, and if everybody's got unlimited data, it kind of slows things down. If a bunch of people are using it all at one time, it'll kind of slow it down. So that's the reason why they cap it, after so many people are using that tower. But when I talked to them a year and a half ago, when we first moved in this place, they kept talking about upgrading the tower. We're going to upgrade the tower. We're going to upgrade the tower. When they upgrade the tower, you'll get an email, and then you'll be able to get unlimited data. So I kept hanging with them. And, every month we couldn't watch hardly anything. We could hardly watch any YouTube. We had hotspots, but we couldn't get our hotspot to work on our actual TV. So, we could do like our devices, like a laptop or whatever with hotspot. But, it kind of sucks watching whatever your Netflix show is on a little bitty screen versus when you got a big screen right there and you just can't watch it. But every month we'd get towards, the last 10 days of the billing cycle, and we'd almost be out of data. I had to make sure I had some data left over to do these live streams. So it was just like every month we had to really, watch what we were doing, which is okay. I mean, it's cool to get in some discipline, it's first world problem stuff, but it's so much nicer having Starlink. We can just watch whatever we want. I've been watching Prison Break on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's been out for a while. It's like 2017 when it first came out. I think there's 5 seasons, but man, I've been enjoying that. I've been kind of addicted to that. Every time I go work out, I put Prison Break on and watch like an episode while I'm working out. And a lot of times I'm down here editing on this PC right here, and I end up getting sidetracked and putting an episode on and watching that. But bottom line, it's cool to just be able to do whatever you want, stream whatever you want. And you get used to that, because we used to have, we had Spectrum at our other place, and you did whatever you want. And then you change locations, you move out in the country, your internet options are very limited. And when you do get something that doesn't have, unlimited data, you just got to tighten it up a little bit. But hopefully we're done with all that. Starlink's been awesome, man. It's been, even right now, we got ice. We got about 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inches of ice, and it's been fine. It says that it can melt up to 1 inch of snow an hour. So somehow it's able to generate, the little dish is able to generate heat and melt up to 1 inch of snow an hour. I don't know about ice, but I thought that was pretty cool. What's up, Tom? Says, I missed you at the Collinsville show. Had a couple Baldwin smallmouth to show you. Oh, yeah. I need to go back to Baldwin, chase some of those smallmouth. I'm going to go before it gets warm. It's on my list. Sometime in the next couple weeks, I want to get back up there. But yeah, man, the sports show, it was cool, man. I was able to, I did my first little seminar. I saw Curtis. I don't know if Curtis is on here, but he may be on here later. But I got to meet Curtis and a couple other people that kind of follow the channel. But Mike Marfell and Eric Morey, the fishing magician, and I did a little seminar, and we just talked about we just talked about kind of random topics, just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It was sort of focused on winter fishing around Illinois, but we talked about just patterning fish and stuff. But it was cool. That was my first seminar, and I'm very glad that I had two other people hanging out there with me. And it was a small crowd in there. It was kind of there wasn't a ton of people in there, so that was kind of good. But it's something I think I might be able to do in the future. I was nervous going into it, but once it got going, it seemed like it was okay. And we talked about that on previous live streams, and we had Eric and Mike on here to kind of just dive through some topics and stuff. And it's different than doing this right here for whatever reason. I mean, there's actually more people watching right now than there was at the sports show, but for some reason, I guess I'm more comfortable doing this than I am actually seeing the people out there. And public speaking is weird. It's just, I think it's like the number one fear of people. Like if you poll people, what is your number one fear? I think it's got to be like top 5. Just people always have problems speaking in public, and me as well. But I mean, it's like anything else. You got to practice it. Everything's a practice, whatever it is. The more you practice, the better you get. And being prepared, I think, is key. If you're prepared and you're talking about a subject that you're knowledgeable about, you seem to have a better time once you get through once you kind of get it going. It seems to flow a little bit better. And I got to talk to Polinick. It was cool. So Polinick was on right after us, and he's a cool dude. He's a pretty cool dude. I talked to him, not only during the seminar, but after the seminar a little bit. He was over at the Clutch swim bait booth, and I went over there and talked to him a little bit. It's funny. There's a story, and I think Mike Marfell has told this story in a live stream before, but there was a tournament down at Bull Shoals Lake, and I guess it was an Elite Series. It had to be a Bassmaster event, probably. I don't know. It's been a long time ago. Whenever they went down there, I don't know if it was that Bull Shoals Norfolk tournament that they had. I don't know how long. It had been a long time ago. I mean, Polinick's been on the tour for like 15 years, so it might have been 13, 14 years ago. But anyway, he was fishing this old world bed. He was fishing the Rapala DT16, and he hung up a bunch of those Rapalas and broke them off. My buddy Mike knew about it somehow and was down there fishing a tournament, pre-fishing or whatever, and he went and fished that same road bed. I don't know that he even knew. I don't know if he knew before, if he had watched the footage of Polinick fishing that, or if it was just an area that he had been fishing. Well, long story short, he snagged one of Polinick's DT16s, and I think he still got it. But I told Polinick that story, and I was like, that's kind of funny because, to snag somebody's crankbait, a crankbait's what, 3 inches, 4 inches with the bill, and you'd have to run your bait through that little 4-inch section to actually snag that bait. I don't know what the odds are on that, but I mean, I guess if you broke off a bunch of line, it might be easier to get it. But if you think about it, it's like you've got a huge area. Maybe you've got a several hundred acre area and you're fishing, and to snag, a small little bait like that, it's pretty cool. So I think Mike still got that bait, but I told Polinick that story, and he thought that was pretty cool. And I ended up going out to dinner with the owners of Clutch swim baits. They make some really cool. They're high dollar, but man, they're nice, and they got pretty good swimming action. I got to see. I fished with Brock Bila down at the Pickwick Regional, the one that I won this year. On day one of practice, I fished with Brock Bila, and he had some of the Clutch Clyde baits in his boat, so I got to see those in action. And I'll be dropping some other videos from that high school bass fishing conference that I went to. Brock was one of the speakers, and I got to sit in the classroom with Brock Bila, Drew Gill, Trey McKinney. Let's see, there was a Garmin clinic that I sat in on. There was a couple of people I talked to, but I recorded some of those clinics, those seminars, in a classroom environment. So I'm in the process of going through some of those, and they're not like super exciting. It's a dude talking, but there's actually a lot of good information. I was just watching, I'm trying to put the Trey McKinney one together, and you really get a feel of how their thought process works, like inside the mind of Trey Kinney. Or Trey's been on here before. Drew Gill's been on here. Brock's been on here, but it's cool to see them in a classroom environment and how their mind works. I mean, Trey's super young, but he's squirrely, man. He's like, he does the weave, which I do that too sometimes, but he'll go sideways for a little bit, chase a rabbit, and then come back around and center it back up and walk. And he's just kind of here, kind of there. But that's how his mind works. And that's why I think he's such a good fisherman, because he's not totally committed to one thing. I think he's always thinking, and he has no problem just veering one way or another. And eventually, maybe he works back to center, or maybe his center just adjusts and he starts, going off of that. But that's going to be coming out here in the next couple of weeks. I'm working on all of those content wise. And I actually got some pretty cool videos coming out. I think you're going to like them. It's just doing some stuff that you typically don't do this time of year to generate bites. Is something to think about. Pickwick Pirate. Thanks, man. I did actually sell the Ranger. I did. Super stoked about that. There's a guy that lives about 30 minutes away, Jason. He's somebody that I've chatted with via text and DMs and stuff, but he was interested. His son fishes high school, and he came by and checked out the boat, and he said he'd get in touch with me. So we worked something out, and I've got, he gave me a little bit of money just to hold it, and I had a good enough conversation where I trust him, and I think, I think it's going to be fine. I'm just gonna hold the boat for him, and he's gonna settle up sometime. The boat's still with me, and whenever he, gets the rest of the money, then he's going to take the boat, and hopefully that's sometime before March, because I just found out that my boat is going to be done. My Phoenix is going to be done like the third week in March. So I'd like to get the Ranger out of storage. It's at my father-in-law's shop in time to get the Phoenix in storage. So it may work out just perfectly. And that's a good thing to know that I got that taken care of. What's up? Sleep at the Reel. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it has been a long time. Time flies. It really, really flies. What's up, Matt? He said, so you convinced me to do the Co and the BFL. Let's see what happens. That's awesome, Matt. What division are you going to do? It's cool talking, I can't remember maybe I talked to Matt at the sports show. I talked to somebody at the sports show about being a co-angler versus fishing a team tournament. What do you guys think about this? So if you're somebody that's wanting to get into team or wanting to get into tournament fishing, do you think it's better to, or maybe not better, what's your thoughts on entering some BFLs as a co-angler in a division or a lake that's somewhat close to you, or a lake that you're interested in, or getting a team partner and entering some of these tournaments in a team format? I mean, personally, I think there's value in both. The gentleman that I talked to at the Let's Go Fishing show was, I told him, I'm like, if you want to get into a tournament scene and you're not really sure how things work, the co-angler side is a good way to watch people, unload the boat, load the boat, park the boat, go through boat check, weigh in, the whole weigh-in process, and then on the water, how they manage their time. That's something that you really get some insight as a co-angler. It's not just what location are you fishing, what kind of stuff are you fishing. That's cool too, but an understated value of being a co-angler is seeing how these guys or gals manage their time on the water, because that's super important. You got 8 hours. How you managing your time out there in the water? You'll see Some people fish really, really fast, like Jake Lawrence. I got to fish with him. He's hitting like 50 spots a day, 60 spots a day. You know, they're little small pieces of cover, but he's moving really, really, really fast. And then there's some folks you fish with, you may fish 4 areas. That's it, like four spots, and really soak it. So you get to see like the different styles of fishing, and maybe, you know, from seeing those different styles, you get to see the results, or you get to see different ways of fishing for sure. I mean, maybe you never fish that fast. Maybe you're a person that's, you know, sits on a spot for an hour, hour and a half, and then moves to another spot, and you may only fish 5 or 6, 7 spots in a day. Well, when you get in a boat with somebody that's fishing like 50 brush piles, you're like, damn, I didn't know like people actually moved around that much. This is a high stress, high reward type of deal. So yeah, that's the advantage of maybe being a co-angler. Plus, you know, you get to see where it's cool to see how the lake lays out. Even if you've been on a lake, so let's just say Kentucky Lake, you know, we always bring it back to Kentucky Lake, but Lake of the Ozarks, any lake, even if you fish a big lake often, you have a tendency to probably go to some of the same areas, and you may draw somebody that goes and fishes a completely different area. You know, maybe you never fished Little River on Barkley, and you're putting in at the dam. Maybe when you put in at Kentucky Lake, maybe you go south and you fish around Jonathan Creek area. You know, that's from the dam to Jonathan Creek is a lot of water. Maybe that's the area that you're familiar with. Well, you draw somebody and he runs 30 miles over in Barkley, and it's a whole nother area. That's the cool thing about, you know, being in the back of the boat and drawing somebody that's doing something different, even on a body of water that you're somewhat familiar. And then they may approach an area that you have fished before in a different manner. You've always thought of this area as this is a crankbait bank, or this is I throw chatterbait along here, and this guy's throwing a spook, or he's throwing name the bait, you know, just a different approach, a different angle. Maybe he sits out a little bit deeper, or maybe up shallower. Just, it's a cool thing about fishing, man. Everybody does a little bit different. That's what keeps it real. That's the magic of fishing. There's so many ways to approach it, so many baits. But that's one of the cool things about being a co-angler is you can you get to see different ways that people will approach the same body of water. And then running the lake. I know I'm being a little bit long-winded, but I'm really trying to lay it out there. And I'm going to do a video. I plan on doing some videos on this kind of stuff. I want to do a video on fishing behind somebody that's live scoping as a co-angler, because that's a really hot topic right now. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why the Opens eliminated co-anglers, is because everybody's bitching about that. And I totally understand that. I mean, the other reason is the reason I agree with is because these open EQ anglers are trying to qualify for the next level. And you've got somebody in the back of the boat that, you know, may be taking some of their fish away from them, especially when you get into like day 2, or you're trying to manage fish. You got somebody that's maybe snagging some fish. I mean, it's unfortunate because I like the co-angler deal as far as just the camaraderie and stuff. But when you're a boater that's trying to further your career, somebody in the back of the boat sniping your fish can hurt you. But on the co-angler side, back to, you know, the BFLs, it's learning how to run the lake too can be very, very important. You know, you get in the boat with somebody that's very familiar with the body of water. They can show you some shortcuts. They can show you some areas that you didn't know you could cut through there. Now you still gotta be paying attention when you're in your own boat, but there's a lot to learn. And then in the team, you know, the team side of thing, kind of back to the co-angler, you're stuck fishing wherever your boater wants to fish, which a lot of people have problems with that. I mean, I've had a lot of people over the years say, dude, I don't know how you do it back there. I don't know how you can just sit back there and not have any control over where you're fishing at and, you know, be okay with it. Well, that's the downside of being a co-angler is you can't control the style that you're fishing. You can't control your location, and you can't control the speed at which you're covering those locations. So even if you've been pre-fishing and you've been on a good bite and you got some stuff figured out, your boater may just do exactly the opposite thing. I mean, I remember a 2-day tournament at Table Rock, my day 1 boater, and we'd found this in practice too. We were catching them really good on a drop shot, there was a really good flat point gravel drop shot bite going on, or Ned rig bite. I mean, like, 12 to 14 pounds doing that. And, I was really fired up about continuing that. And then I draw a guy that runs past all that juicy stuff. We ran past all these places that are holding fish, and I knew they were holding fish because we caught them there. And we go like 30 miles up the river. I think it was the Kings River. And we're fishing, instead of fishing 15-foot visibility, we're fishing in 1 foot of visibility, mud. Totally different mindset. You go from finesse fishing, a 15-pound braid. By the way, shout out to Sniping Braid. Those little plug in there. It's a company that's sponsoring the live stream. They got bass and braid, and then their crappie, like Sniping Braid, but this 15-pound stuff is great for drop shotting, and you folks that like to throw the little minnow out there. They had this stuff for like $10 on sale at the boat show. I talked to Matt over there. It's not junk braid either. It's actually really good stuff. So if you're looking for some very good quality, it's 8-strand stuff at a really reasonable price, check out Sniping Braid. They got a website. But I was fishing, all that finessey stuff, and then next thing you know, we're going up in that muddy water, and I had to go from throwing braid to 8-pound floor to drop shot and Ned rig, shaky head, that kind of stuff, to power fishing, spinnerbait, crankbait, black and blue jig. So it was a total mindset. So that's something that it's interesting, and it keeps you on your toes, and it's exciting because you don't know exactly what you're going to draw. But when you go from one thing, when you have one pattern dialed in, and that's a good way to catch fish, and then somebody takes you to another pattern, another part of the lake that didn't really work out, it's hard to refocus. But back to the team thing. As a team tournaments, you get to do whatever you want. You got a good partner. You guys can work it out. Yeah, Darius, I just sitting around here. I'm like, you know what? It's been a while. I need to get on here and just ramble, and I hope you guys will stay on here. We're going to give away Baitworks, $25 gift card here in a little bit. Baitworks is the other sponsor. Baitworks has been with us for a long time. You can see on the ticker there, THM10, get you 10% off of your purchase at Baitworks for unlimited product. Go check them out, man. They're a good company. They've been helping this stream out for quite a while. I know most people go to, Tackle Warehouse or Bass Pro Shops, and that's great. They have a lot to offer, but don't forget about Baitworks too. They have some really cool bargain code. It's called the Bargain Cove. It's like a bargain bin. But if you get on there, you don't have to do it now, but maybe afterwards, get on there and look at their Bargain Cove. They have a ton of stuff, and it's good stuff too. And it's like deep discounts. A lot of it's like half price, 60% off. And it's good stuff. It's like they got a bunch of Yamamoto baits on there. They might have some Cumberland Pro stuff on there. But it's a great way to save money and get some good products. But a team tournament is cool because, sometimes, ideally, you might be fishing with one of your best friends, your old fishing buddy. You're like, hey, let's go fish this USA Bassin circuit. It's like $60 a tournament. Maybe it's $30 membership ahead and then $60 tournament. It's affordable. A lot of times they'll have, these tournaments on your local lake, so you don't have to drive really far. You're not spending a ton of time on a ton of time traveling. You can usually stay at your own house, which is nice. You're going to save on lodging, food, that kind of stuff. And you can call your shots. You guys can fish wherever you want. You can fish however you want. You can lay it all out there and have a great time in the boat with your buddy. So that's kind of the two different scenarios. The co-angler, there's a lot of unpredictables. There's a lot of variables. First, a team tournament, you can kind of call your shots as long as you get along with your partner. That's another thing. It's one thing to draw a boater that you don't get along with. That's whatever. You can suck it up for 8 hours. It's not too big a deal. It does suck at times, but most of the time you get somebody you can usually work with. You get a bad team partner, that's a little harder. You might, if you guys are planning on fishing all 5 tournaments or 6 tournaments or whatever, making a championship, it might be a little bit harder to get out of that. So make sure when you do pick a team partner, you pick somebody that you get along with, somebody that you got good chemistry in the boat with. It'll just make it fun and exciting, and it's a good time, man. I recommend actually doing them both. Usually, if you get a good partner, I always think of like Dennis Bearhorse and Roger Fitzpatrick. You know, both phenomenal anglers separately, or Marcus Sikora and Bill Davenport. There's a bunch of really good teams out there, but individually, they're both really good fishermen, and they're able to separate and break down a lake. You know, if you got a if your team partner is able to spend some time on the water separate from you, and you guys can really break down a lake, you're going to have a lot more success than sometimes you have a guy that fishes with you, or a girl that fishes with you that doesn't have a boat. They can't really spend time out on the water. You know, I've had that. I fished with my buddy Jerry in the past in team tournaments, and he's got a big boat, but he doesn't have he didn't have a 10 horsepower boat. He doesn't have a little aluminum boat like I have. So I would either we'd go over together, or I just go over and pre-fish. And that worked out fine. But if you had somebody that had, you know, a 10 rig, they go figure some stuff out, you go figure some stuff out, and then you kind of get your head together and come up with a plan. Sometimes that can be better, unless you guys are alpha males and you guys are just like, I want to go do my stuff. And then they're like, I want to go do my stuff. That's why you got to figure out, you know, the right partner that you guys can actually just brainstorm, come up with a good plan, and nobody's got too big of an ego, and it'll work out. You know, that all comes down to choosing the right partner, because you can butt heads too, man. You can butt heads. Somebody's catching 15 pounds and you're catching 15 pounds, and you know, it can get squirrely. You get that old beer fight in the parking lot, and some tires slash, and your mama this, and blah blah blah. John, yes, I will show you some pictures. Let me go down here to the comments, because I did kind of get going on a couple topics, and I just want to see some feedback. It's kind of a one-man show here tonight. Yeah, you do, man. You do, Rich. I know you had some good opens videos. I've been enjoying your content lately too. That one, I actually messaged you about that one video. I had some crazy editing in it. A lot of those chop, I don't know what you call them, but a lot of chop clips. Just re-stimulates the brain, keeps you going. But yeah, like the opens, that kind of stuff, it can be very, very expensive. Team stuff can usually be a little more affordable. And, you know, you got somebody to share your expenses. When I travel in the BFLs, I've been traveling with, you know, I stay with a guy named Joe, and we split the expenses. But if you're by yourself and you're paying for lodging by yourself, that can get expensive. If you're doing the team thing, you know, it's a little bit more affordable. And yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's see. David says, if you do not have an opportunity to pre-fish and spend a lot of time on the water, team stuff can be tough. I'm enjoying being a co-better. Yeah, that's a good point, Davis. Is as a co, you can literally just drive to the lake, stay a night, or drive the morning of. I've even done that, and jump in the boat the next day and just go fishing. Not do any pre-fishing at all. Just kind of put it all out there. If you have an idea of the lake, and you have an idea of seasonal patterns, probable patterns, what's the probability of what the fish are going to be doing, you could just go down there and jump in the boat and just go for it. I mean, I've done that before. I prefer having a day, you know, just to get out on the water to see the water color and the water temperature, and just maybe get a few bites, get some confidence. Because when I'm pre-fishing, like I fish with Mike Marfell a lot, M Squared, and we're usually down there on Lake of the Ozarks. He throws a jig. Mike's a jig guy. That's all he does. I mean, he'll throw a jig for 6 hours, not get a bite, pick up a spinnerbait, cast it 3 times, and say they're not biting on a spinnerbait, and pick up a jig and fish it some more. And I've seen him catch a ton of good fish. He's won a boat fishing a jig. He's just got a lot of confidence. But there's no reason for me to throw a jig behind Mike, because I know if they're biting a jig, he's going to catch them. So I already know if he's catching them on a jig, that's one bait that I definitely am going to have tied on the following day when I'm fishing that tournament. So I usually am fishing something else behind. I'm always fishing something else behind him. As hard as it is to not throw a jig when they're biting it, it does me no good. I need to figure out like a secondary way of catching those fish because, a couple of reasons. One, my boater the next day could be fishing a jig and he could be picking them apart on a jig. Well, when you got a guy in the front of the boat that's really dialed in on a jig and he's slowing down and he's just, he's a little vacuum cleaner, you're probably not going to get a lot of bites throwing a jig behind you. You can do some things. Obviously, you can change the trailer. You can make it heavier, make it more finessey, do a little bit of tweaking here and there. But typically, your best way to fish behind somebody that's, really fishing a certain specific pattern is not throwing the same thing that they are, throwing something different. Obviously, if they catch them on a jig, if they're just dragging it, fish are on the bottom, shaky head, tube, maybe even a crankbait, just throwing something a little bit different. And that's usually the best way to go. Not all the time, but I mean, sometimes you can't catch them on a jig too, because they can't cover everything. But back to what I was originally saying, Mike's got that covered. So the nice thing about having a day or two to pre-fish before a tournament is you can try to come up with a different plan of attack, but you can certainly just go down there. You can just jump in the boat and go with it if you don't have time. That's one of the reasons why I haven't switched over to the boater side, is because of it's a lot of money, it's more money, and it's more of a time investment. I can do it. It's just going to cost me a little bit more, not only financially, but time wise. So I'm going to have to take off a little bit more work. Then I'm about to spend a little bit more money. Your entry fees are more expensive. You've got additional fuel in your boat. So there's just, it's a more monetarily, it's a little more of a responsibility, and I'm not, with me personally, this tournament thing is I'm getting the itch by fishing out of the back of the boat. I'm meeting a lot of people. I made a ton of good friends over the years fishing out of the back of the boat. I've got to fish with some really, really cool folks, and we're still friends to this day. Like I said earlier, very rarely do you draw somebody that's just a DB. It just usually doesn't happen. So most of the people that I meet, they're pretty cool dudes. We've had a lot of really good times on the water. So that's important to me. And then filming content, I like, it's a little more relaxing trying to create some content, trying to capture the moment of the tournament as a co-angler. You're not thinking about the next spot. You don't have to focus on the trolling motor, and it's a lot more relaxing in the back of the boat. And yeah, there's something more, trying to think of the word. It is more impressive when you win a tournament as a boater versus a co-angler, but at the same time, I don't know that it is, because there's a lot of challenges out of the back of the boat too. So if you have maybe your ego might get the best of you and you think that you really need to be in the front of the boat. But I'm kind of past all that. I fish hard and I do like the competition and I do want to win. I do want to catch a check. Don't get me wrong on that. But to me, it's just as much about the camaraderie, meeting people, hanging out, and creating some content, and still mingling with the like-minded folks, the tournament folks. I like being there. I like going to the weigh-ins. I like seeing fish and talking to people that I hadn't seen in a while, and I like that whole scene, man. It's a cool scene. So you're still able to be a part of that scene, but at a lesser price. Maybe less of a time investment. And right now, that's where I'm at. As I, every day I think, or every year I think about it as a time to go to the front of the boat. And as I kind of plan out and look at things, right now it still makes sense to just to stay in the back. And with this new boat, I plan on heading down south and fishing a little more Kentucky Lake, and becoming a little more familiar with it, hitting Lake of the Ozarks a little bit, being a little bit more familiar with it on my own. And then we'll see. Like maybe 2026 will be the year where I jump into the boater side. Oh yeah, let's look at. I'll show you my boat. Man, I don't know. Anybody on here ever ordered a boat? It's like, it's crazy, man. Like all you have to pick out all. I know Rich has ordered a new boat, but you have to pick out all the different colors and stuff. And you go and look at a boat in the parking lot or out in the water, and it's got all this, it's got all this pretty stuff going on. But you don't really think about. I didn't think about how many different color you got. All these different stripes, and you got these just everything. There's a bunch of different colors that you got to pick out. I'm half-ass colorblind, so thank God my wife is not. She helped me. I did a lot of looking online, watching some videos and stuff, and I found a color. I found a pattern that I kind of liked, and I kind of got on this. You can get on this right here. You get on. So this is the boat that I won for you guys. There's probably some people on here that don't know the backstory, and I won't go into it, but I fished a BFL. I qualified for a BFL regional down at Pickwick. It was in like October. It's a 3-day tournament. I got fortunate enough, made the right cash, ended up winning the whole tournament. And when you win the tournament, you get a Phoenix 819 Pro, brand new bass boat, like $50,000 bass boat. You get their certificate for the boat, then you take the certificate to your dealership, or you find a local dealer that you want to work with, and you order the boat. So that's where I'm at. I sat on it for a while. I wasn't sure if I was going to sell a certificate, upgrade, or just get the boat. And praying about it. Lots of a couple of Mexican dinners with my wife. We talked about it, and a lot of these people on this live stream right now helped out a bunch. Had a lot of text messages, a lot of people just trying to help me out, give me different ideals and stuff on boats. But we decided to get it. So I ordered it about a week and a half ago from ACS Marine down near Paris, Tennessee, on Kentucky Lake. I talked to Austin Stutz today, actually. Had some questions about some things, and he said he just talked to the guy at Phoenix, and the boat's going to be done like the 3rd week in March. So that is the update. But as you go into this, each one of these, let me pull this. Let me share this real quick. I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, you guys aren't even seeing it. Let's share the screen. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So when you go into this is just this is the Phoenix boat page. You got all these options. Okay. So as you turn, see that thing that got yellow? That's the part that you're picking out right there. So the deck, and then the deck stripe, and then the deck insert, the side panel transom wings, everything. You go down this boat, and there's, I don't know how many there is, but there's a bunch. And then you got all these colors. You got just tons and tons of colors. I don't know how many colors there is. It seems like there's like 30 or 40 colors or something. Maybe not that many, but a lot. So it can be overwhelming. You can come up with the most gaudiest looking boat you could ever think of. It's horrible. And I did that. You start out with an ideal, and then you start kind of add some flavor to it. And next thing you know, you're like, that looks like a pack of melted M&Ms in your truck seat on a hot summer day. You're like, that will get me thrown off the lake if I even think about. Look at that. You can do whatever you want. But what I did was I kind of searched around on the internet, and I found something that I kind of liked, and I kind of pivoted off of that, and I'll show you what that looks like. We'll add that. Let's see here. I'll show you what my boat is. It took a while. There we go. That's my boat. That's what we went with. So it is, go back. The hull is called Galaxy Mist. So this is this darker color right here. And then you have purple polyflake is this purple color. The boat that I found online that I liked was blue. I mean, it's basically the Galaxy with the blue in it. And it's, I liked it too. So I was kind of on the fence about, I don't know why I went with purple. I just thought it kind of looked cool, but that's basically the boat right there. Went with the gray carpet, and the seats are, you know, like charcoal. It's got the purple linen. It's got some black, and these are the stock wheels, stock rims that are on it, stock wheels and rims, stock trailer, jack. It's got a Mercury 200 XS on it. I mean, you can make upgrades. You know, you can get the low profile tires with some kind of blacked out rims, which are pimping. I mean, they're nice, but all that stuff costs extra money. You can go to a Yamaha on the back of this thing, which I like a Yamaha. You can do some pinstriping on the trailer, and you know, you can spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars more. But I was happy with this boat right here. I think it looks, you know, it looks good. I like the lighter. I had originally thought I would have the darker carpet on there, like the charcoal, but it makes it too dark. Gray kind of, I don't know, it kind of separates it a little bit. But I made a few different tweaks to it. Like the one thing I'm going to be doing, I'll just break down kind of what the things that I'm going to be doing to it. I got a fully padded front deck, and man, I think that's very, very important on a boat. When I rebuilt my John boat, you know, I got my John boat, I tore all the carpet off of it. Actually, I don't think it had carpet on it when I got it, but no, it did. I can't remember if it did or not. But regardless, I ordered some of that padding, like 3/8 inch padding, and I laid that down before I put carpet on it. And I did that with my other John boat. I used to have like a 1442. When I recarpeted it, I put the padding down. Man, it makes a huge difference. You're standing up there all day long. You don't realize it, but you're just a little bit of padding up there can make your day a whole lot better. You know, it's a night and day difference. When you're sitting down, you're going through your tackle, you know, like this has got this, you know, you got your center console. A lot of times you're sitting on your rod locker and you're retying stuff. You know, your butt's sitting on that pad. It's kind of nice and cushy on your tush, man. I mean, everybody likes a nice, comfortable seat. So it's well worth it. It wasn't that much. I think it was like $250 to get the whole front deck padded as an upgrade. To me, that's well worth it. So that's the one of the upgrades I did. The other upgrade, let me see if I can let's go back to, let me get rid of the screen. I'll go back to the other one so we can kind of take a look inside of the boat. Okay. We'll go back to customize. No. Okay, so here's the specs. It's 19 foot, 8 inches, 96 beam, 43, 200, blah, 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 blah. But you can customize it and do different things. Popular options, you know, gives you some, basically this is just different graphs and power poles and stuff. I didn't get the power poles. But one of the things that I did do was get the, I don't know if it's going to show it or not, but I got the rubber, like the EVA cockpit flooring, which is the mat, you know, like the sea foam type stuff, not sea foam, but sea deck type stuff in the mat that's on the floor. I got that because I've been in a lot of boats where I really like that. I mean, it comes with carpet, and you got it's an upgrade to get that mat. I actually thought about that for 4 or 5 days before I decided to do it. But like I said, I've been in boats with that, and I think that's a pretty cool addition. It's just nice. It dries out a little bit quicker. I mean, well, it doesn't really hold water at all. It's rubber, but your carpet can be wet down there for quite a day, for quite a long time. It seems like your deck carpet will dry out a lot faster. It's getting direct sunlight and it's getting access to the wind as you're not only as you're running down the lake, but as you're pulling your boat on the trailer behind your vehicle. That seems to dry out a lot faster than that carpet that's down there in the cockpit. I mean, that can stay wet for an extra day or two, but with that mat, it's gonna, it's not gonna get wet. It just runs off. So I thought that was worth it. It's just some a little bit extra, but to me it made sense. But it's got a lot of really cool, just cool features. I like the LED compartment lights are going to be kind of cool. If we go back to the gallery, we can kind of have a look at some of the stuff that comes with the boat. Let's see. There's your seats. It's kind of cool. Like the Phoenix has got this little net storage place. So your net just kind of slides out of the way. Of course, when you get to your spot, you're going to pull your net out. But just for running down the lake and stuff, it's kind of nice to have that under the seat storage. That's one of the features that I like about the Phoenix boat. And it's been, as a co-angler, back to the co-angler deal, I've gotten to ride in like a ton of boats. And there's a bunch of cool boats. I mean, I like a lot of them, actually. The only one that's kind of weird is a Bass Cat for the back, just the compartment design. It's got so many angles and stuff. I think storage on a Bass Cat's wonky in the back. Maybe the front's not too big a deal, but that and like a Bullet's kind of got some weird storage. And there's some of those boats that are not set up the most efficient, in my opinion. But besides that, like a Ranger, Skeeter, Vexus, Phoenix, Camus, Trident, there's a lot of really good platforms out there. But the Phoenix has just been like my top 3. So I'm pretty stoked to be in a Phoenix, but it's got a lot of really cool features. These are the seats, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and go through everything, but it doesn't have it's got a jack plate, but it's a manual jack plate, the boat that I'm getting. It's not hydraulic. And they set it up, from what I've been told, what Austin was telling me, they set it up right from the factory, and it's set up for, it's set up right, basically. So I'm not too worried about that. Right here's your kind of basically your glove box. It's going to be a single console. So this opens up and you got storage in there to put your keys and your wallet and all that stuff. This is kind of cool right here. You can put your CUDA pliers right in here. They're kind of out of the way. And yeah, there's your storage box, basically a glove box. You got cup holders, both sides there. Live wells. There's your cockpit, your dash. I kind of like all these. I mean, I like the individual switches. Seems like it's less, that stuff gets digitalized. You got all the LED fancy stuff. I'm always, I don't know, that stuff can go out. This seems to be a little bit more simpler. So I feel a little bit more confident about that. It's got the sliding trays in the battery box, which is cool. You can slide those around. It's easier to work on stuff. Recess foot control pedal. It's got place right here for your CUDA stuff. And that's the other upgrade that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a new trolling motor. It came with like a 70-something pound 24-volt trolling motor. And I went ahead and traded that trolling motor in on a 36-volt Quest. So an Ultrex Quest, which is the brushless version of the Ultrex. So I'm kind of stoked on that. I've my buddy Joe has one of those, and it's a really quiet motor. So I went ahead and upgraded to that because, I got spot lock and stuff on my little boat. And once you got spot lock, you can't go back, man. You got to have it. It's got good storage in the back. There's another view of the battery box. I don't know if there's anything else that's really, but I like this setup. It's a traditional traditional setup as far as the storage and all that. And I'm very familiar with that, the way it's all laid out. Yeah, and then we got lithium batteries. I went with some MillerTech batteries, which I have Ionic in my John boat, and they've been pretty good batteries. But I was talking to Steven Estes from Bass Fishing Electronics, and he's like, try the MillerTech. So they were running a Black Friday sale, and I was able to, get they're expensive, but I was able to get them at a reasonable price. And so I went ahead and got the lithiums. And man, I tell you what, lithiums, they're stupid expensive, but man, they're worth it. I had 250 amp Ionic batteries that I had on my shelf for quite a while because I was going to burn up my lead acid batteries. I was waiting to kill them, and I never really totally burnt through them. They were still working, but I'd get about 4 or 5 hours out of them, and I had to turn everything off and make sure that I was really being conservative with my energy use in my boat. And I finally hooked up those lithiums, and it's insane. Like, I can fish, basically I burn through 25% of my battery capacity each time I go out. I've got one 125 amp hour battery that I have my live scope. So I got my black box, my GLS 10. Then I have my Garmin graph is a GPS 1022. I've got that ran to that 125 amp battery. And then I've got a Gen 3 Lowrance 9. Then I've got the 12-inch Lowrance Live Pro. No, it's just a Live. It's not a Live Pro. Live. So I've got basically all my electronics are just ran through to that 125 amp hour battery. And then on my dual, I have 250 amp hour batteries. I've got my 24 volt trolling motor, which I got an Ultrex. I got it ran to that. And then I've got all my other power and stuff is ran to that. So my nav lights, my GoPro, my Yolotech Power Stick 53 is ran to that. And then bilge pumps, that kind of stuff, which that's not being used all that much. My GoPro stuff is, but I'm not using my pumps and stuff throughout the day. But I've got it's pretty cool because it's equal distribution throughout all of the batteries. So what I mean is you have Bluetooth connectivity to your lithium battery. So you can get an app and you can actually get on your phone and you can check the percentage of battery that you have left in your battery. So I can fish, I've been fishing at 25%. Basically, I fish all day. I can fish for like 8 to 10 hours, and I'm only burning 25% of those lithium batteries. And all three of them show the same depletion, which is kind of cool. Instead of having one that's at 40% and the other one's at 80, they're all three at like 75% after one day, and then at 50 after 2 days. But I can go like 3 times without charging them. I bought a Noco like 3-bank charger, so I don't have to charge them, but once every 3 times I go fishing. It's pretty cool to actually see how much you got in your battery by looking at your phone versus like lead acid, you're totally guessing. You don't really know. You're kind of like, I think I got a little bit more, but you're not really sure. And then, lead acid, they fall off really, really slow. So it's hard to tell, but the lithium are sweet. They're high dollar. They're a lot of money, but it is nice. It's nice to have it. And then the weight too, you're taking, you take two, let's just take 231 series lead acids. That's like, I don't know what they weigh. They're like 65 pounds, 70 pounds, something like that. And then you take some of these 50 amp lithiums and they're like 20 pounds. So the weight difference is unbelievable. And I was actually able to put 250 amp lithium batteries in the same 31 series battery box. So I had a 29 series, which is kind of an oddball size. It was a Duracell from Sam's. I had it in a size 31 series battery box, took it out. I put the 250 amps in there. I took some padding, I took some foam pad on the bottom because those battery box taper down. But I kind of shim the bottom of it, and that way, you know, the basically get the battery up below the tightest taper. And I put both of those in there, and they sat in there fine. I was able to get my battery case. So it freed up a whole size 31 battery space back there too, because they're smaller. And then I lost however many pounds that is, which is a big deal in a John boat. But anyway, I said all that to say that I got Militech batteries in the Phoenix. So I'm pretty stoked. Who would like to see a head-to-head fish off between Drew and Trey? They could actually do that because they don't live very far away. Trey lives in Carbondale. Drew lives up there in Mount Carmel, Indiana, which is, I think they're less than 100 miles away from each other. They can meet at somewhere, Newton or something. They're both pretty dang good. But here's what's cool about those guys. There's a lot of live scope haters out here, and there's a lot of buzz about how these young guys can't catch them without it. That's not true. Drew can catch them without them. Trey can catch them without the forward-facing sonar, and you're going to see that. I think one of the most exciting things about the BPT changing the rules in 2025, going to the one period of scoping, is you're going to see, in my opinion, that these guys can still catch them without it. And I think Drew's going to be one of those guys. Jake Lawrence is deadly with the scope, but he was deadly without it too. And I still think you're going to see these guys do really, really good without it. And it's going to be exciting to see. I mean, I know both of them, they're good guys. I mean, I hope that's the case, because I'm really pulling for both of them. But I think we're going to see that it's not just the technology. That's not the only reason that these folks can catch bass. It's more than that. It's that they know where the hell to look. And they know how to make changes, and they know how to focus, and they know how to they got gills, man. They know how to fish. Okay, I think we covered all that. Let me kind of look through some of these questions here. Yeah, Alex says, being a mailman like yourself, I had to find a club that only fishes on Sundays. That's been a problem. A lot of these clubs fish on Saturdays. And that's a problem with a lot of tournaments in general. If you do have, most people work Monday through Friday. I wouldn't say most people, but yeah, I'd say most people work Monday through Friday. And they have Saturdays and Sundays off. So, Saturday tournament's no big deal. But some jobs, like a letter carrier, we work on Saturdays. So Sundays are ideal for us. So finding a club that fishes Sundays is a good deal. No, I haven't got a hold of any of the Strike Force attractant that Beffa and Mike Russell have started out. But they were at the boat show. They had a lot of interest. Their packaging, go check them out, guys. Strike Force attractant. Good friends of the stream. Mike Russell's been on here before. He's working with Strike King, and then Jay Beffa has been on here before. Works with the Warrior William Foundation, and just all around good dude. But they kind of went in on this company, and they did a lot so far in just a short period of time. They've repackaged it. They've rebranded it. It looks pretty sweet. They got the silver bottles. And I talked to Jay, and he gave me a couple bottles of it. But I said, just hold on to them. And I was going to come back through and pick them up as I was leaving, and I forgot to go by there. So I don't have any, but I'm looking forward to trying. They got a bunch of different flavors too. I mean, of course, they got like bass and shad and crawfish, and I think you saw cappuccino or You know, scent is, it's funny. Somebody asked Paul and Nick during that seminar about scent, and it was a pretty good discussion about scent. You know, it's hard to tell sometimes if it's the scent or if it's just you threw it in front of a fish that was aggressive. But I have seen times, and I know Jonathan's talked about it too, where something like bait fuel, it's made a difference. That's been one of the things I think is helped me catch fish behind other people as a co-angler. I'll give you a little nugget here. I always soak my stuff in bait fuel. I've always just done that. I mean, I haven't always, but the last couple of years. And I think I really feel like if I'm able to fish slow and soak my bait, it's a little bit of an advantage having some scent, because I've caught fish behind people that were doing the same thing as I'm doing. You know, basically fishing something really slow. And I think there's something about scent at times. So that strike force is something that works right now. I mean, right now the water's cold, the fish are not really aggressive. And if you're fishing something really slow, even on a jerk bait, I mean, that jerk bait might be sitting there for 15 seconds. And that fish, if you got forward facing sonar, you can see that fish will just come up there, move it. There's the fish. They're looking at it. They're like less than a foot away from that bait and looking at it. Sometimes some scent will make that fish commit, because you know they can smell it. It's just something a little bit extra that can kind of get them to commit to the bait. And even if it doesn't work, it does mask any of the scents that you have on your body. You know, a lot of times we're eating a sandwich, or we're, you know, pumping gas, whatever it is. We got we got some funkiness on our hands at times. Maybe that neutralizes it. You tie on your bait, you know, you're rigging your plastic up, and you're rubbing your own goodness all over whatever bait it is. Spray something on there that smells like a shad. Maybe it'll make that fish commit. So, but yeah, check out Strike Force, man. I don't have any, but I will have some soon, and I'll be trying it. Yeah, they do have some really good deals on Baitworks. Can you decline a co-angler? No, you can't. And they changed that rule this year. They you have to have a link as a boater. You have to have a link. So prior to 2025, you could call in, pay for your entry, and then if there were more boaters than co-anglers, you know, you had to wait for things to even out. A lot of times as a co-angler, I mean, this is several years ago, you would be on a waiting list. You know, there would be, let's say there was 100 boaters signed up for the tournament, and there was 120 co-anglers that wanted to fish. There's 20 co-anglers that aren't going to be able to fish if more boaters don't sign up. So there was a list. Well, there's been some kind of shenanigans that have happened where, I don't know, it just became a debacle. But now in 2025, you've got to be linked up with somebody to be entered in the tournament. Like if you're a boater, you need a co-link, and that's the best way to do it. But you cannot decline a co-angler. That's part of the BFLs in the Toyota series. Yeah, that's good, John. That's about my ratio too. We're still going co. We're going to do it in the back of the boat for another year. Yeah, the ABA. That's right. That's right, Darius. I think they still do. I don't know if they still have those on Kentucky Lake, the ABAs. I know they did for a while. I never did fish one, but I almost did. Oh, I'm sorry. I said Darius. I was looking at Darius. I appreciate that, Douglas. Bass. What's up, Mike? Appreciate it, Rich. No, it is. Sometimes you need to take a break. I got a bunch of crap I need to get done too. Yep, there's a lot of truth to that, Rich. There is a lot of truth to that. But one thing as a co, and this is something I've been working on, is you'll find yourself in a similar situation. And it's easy to get spun out, like especially if it was in a situation where it was really tough. And I always think back to the first time I got behind a really, really, really good live scoper was when I fished behind Jake Lawrence, and that was Kentucky Lake. It was a super tournament, BFL super tournament, and it was 2 years ago. And I zeroed. I've told this story on here before, but there's a lot of new people on here. But Jake moves really, really fast. He is one of the best scopers, in my opinion, out there. He's very accurate. He's very dialed in, and he knows Kentucky Lake, especially that southern area down near Paris, like the back of his hand. And he's on the water a lot. And he had a bunch of brush piles that were holding fish. And his whole goal was to fish as many brush piles as possible, which that makes total sense. It's a numbers game. Put your bait in front of as many fish as possible and keep hunting until you see what you like. So there's no camping out. There's no like expanding your area. He's fishing specific spots, and you're moving very, very fast. That was a tough day. I learned a lot about that day. Like I said, I zeroed that day. I did have one about 4 pounds up to the boat at about 1 o'clock, and I fought it for a little bit, and I went around his power poles, and it pulled off. So that was it. Well, this year, super tournament, drew a guy named Levi Cole, who fishes for, I believe he fishes for Murray. He ended up winning the LBL division of the BFLs. He was the points leader this year. He is very proficient with live scope again. So I found myself in that exact same scenario. But I had learned a little bit. I had thought a little bit about the time I fished with Jake, and I made a few adjustments, and I ended up weighing in 2 fish behind Levi. So, you can make an excuse out of the back of the boat, but you can also learn from your experiences and become a better co-angler and put yourself in a position to get, a decent check. So that's something that I'm always working on. You're putting yourself in those, and obviously in the front of the boat, it's the same way. You're putting yourself in similar situations, and you make adjustments over the year. But yeah, there is always that excuse. You can blame it on the boater, and a lot of people do. A lot of people do. They have a really bad day, and that piece of crap boater, he did this, and blah blah blah. And there can be some truth to that, but you got to fish the conditions. You got to do everything you can to get a bite. Sometimes it's really, really tough, but there's usually a bite out there. Sometime during the day, you're going to get the opportunity to catch a fish. You got to be totally focused, and you got to realize when that situation presents itself. Yeah, anybody want to buy Camus? Rich has got one for sale. I think he's got it for sale still. It's kind of tough to sell a boat right now in Minnesota. Yeah, I'm happy with that 819. I thought about upgrading, but I wasn't going to get. I mean, basically, it's a $50,000 certificate. They were only going to give me 35 towards an upgrade. Like if I want to get a 721 or something, which a 721 is probably what I would have got because I've ridden in that platform and I really like that platform. But I was going to lose 15 grand off that certificate value. It didn't make any sense. So we are happy with the 819. That's a perfect size boat for me. It's big enough, wide enough to handle rough water. Around here where I'm at, most of the lakes that I'm fishing are pretty small. So I'm not going to have, I'm not going to have any issues at all. At all. Oh yeah. Let's see what else. I had written down a couple other things. Oh, clutch swim baits. I told you I went and ate dinner with those guys. Pretty cool dudes. We had a good conversation. I'm gonna have them on the live stream sometime. I reached out to them afterwards and told them, we both kind of corresponded with each other and said we enjoyed the conversations, and gonna have him on sometime next couple of weeks, hopefully, just to talk about glide baits. There's a lot to glide baits. There's a lot to glide baits. When to throw them, what colors, the line, the rod, the weighting system. It's one thing I saw when I was fishing with Brock is out on the water at Pickwick. We ran into the owner of Clutch. I think his name is Josh, if I remember right. But anyway, Brock was trying to get his bait down a little bit deeper, and basically they figured out how to wrap the wire and get it in the right spot, and they made some tweaks, throw it out, reel it in, it's doing something. Okay, let's tweak it. And then, the weighting can be really tricky to get it to run like you want to. They're not, I don't think they're as finicky as like a jerk bait, but there is a little bit to it. Yeah, that's right. Rich Finley's gonna be happy with that extra patty. She will just she'll just curl up there and love it. And that's another thing, that's gonna be cool about this boat. I did it with a Ranger when I first got it, but I kind of got a little bit lazy with it. But I'm planning on taking out the family a little more. We do like an intentions and our gratitudes, like after New Year's, like sometime within the week after New Year's, we all sit around at the candle, like me and my wife and my 2 kids. We sit around the table with candles, light the candles, and then we write down our gratitudes for the year, like the prior year. So 2024, things that we were thankful for. And then our intentions for 2025. We write those all down. It's kind of cool. We've been doing that for, I don't know, like 10 years, something like that. Well, not 10 years. The girls couldn't write when they were 6, but I think I saw 2016 was one of the years in there. So whatever, 8 years, something like that. But it's cool to go back and look at those. What did you write? What were your intentions for that year? And did any of that, were you able to accomplish any of that? And yeah, a lot of the same things keep getting pushed, keep kicking that can down with good intention, but it just doesn't quite manifest. So it's cool to go back and like look at all that stuff. But one of the things I wrote down as an intention for 2025 was to put my wife Crystal on a striper. She has not caught a striper yet, and I want to hear that drag sing. I mean, that's one of the best things. You guys out there that's got kids, there's something special about seeing your kid hook up on a big fish that starts ripping some drag and running. Or just anybody you love. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your grandpa, whoever. But there's something special about seeing that person feel that same kind of joy that you feel when you hook into a good fish, but taking them to a lake, finding that fish, putting them on that fish. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. So that's like my intentions for 2025 is to take the family out in the boat a little bit more, put them in those situations. Yeah, electronics, Drew. On the new boat, I'm glad you brought that up. I ordered the 1222 GPS Garmin for the live scope, and I got the LVS 34, which is kind of cool. I'm excited about that. On my current boat, my John boat, I've got the LVS 32, and I've experienced the LVS 34 a bunch, and it's going to be a good upgrade. I mean, I'll be able to see my bait out there a little bit further, a little bit more target separation, just a little more cleaner. So I'm excited about that. I've got a 1022 on my John boat. On the Phoenix, I'm going to have a 1222. So we're getting a couple more inches of craft space. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. That 2 inches makes a big difference in a lot of ways, especially on a graph, though. If I had the money, I would get like a 16 or something. I actually got to see the 16 in work, and it's crazy. But 1222 is going to be excellent for me. It's key. The thing I like about that GPS is it's got the little dial, because once you get your live scope set up, you're really only changing a couple things. Mainly, it's just the gain. That's really the only thing that I change for the most part. I mean, when I go in shallow, I will change the depth. You know, I typically keep it at 30 feet most of the time when I'm out there in, I don't know, like 15 footer or so. A lot of times when I'm fishing offshore, if you're just casting at floaters, typically out over deep water. But then when I get in a little bit shallower, I'll go to 20. I don't ever go shallower than 20. So it's usually 20, 30, or 40, depending on obviously how deep I am. But I very rarely do I put it on 10. But the gain, I do adjust the gain. A lot of times, I run it pretty hot. I don't mind a little clutter. I want to see some stuff. You know, I'm running at about 74 most of the time. Right now in the winter, there's a lot less clutter in the water. You got a lot less algae. Your water's clearer. You can run it hotter. You know, I've been running it at like 78. But as it gets closer to dark, even in the winter, you get a pollen bloom. You get not pollen bloom. You get algae bloom, and that water starts to clutter up. You'll see that on your side scan. It's, you know, I noticed that years and years and years ago. As it gets closer to dark, you get like an algae bloom, and your side scan gets really, really cluttered. Well, that's the same thing that happens with your forward-facing sonar. So I'll turn the gain back, but I typically start around that 72 to 74, and that's kind of where I hold it. And then I'll roll it back to 68, 69. So we got the Live Scope Plus, LBS 34, and then the 1222. And then I've ordered a 12-inch Live Pro Lowrance for the dash. And I'm going to take I have a Lowrance 12-inch Live that I run on my John boat. I'm going to take it and put it up front next to my 1222, just for mapping, just basically for waypoints. You know, since I've got the forward-facing sonar up front, I still do look at down scan. Like my John boat, I have an HDI down scan, and then I've got the 2D on the trolling motor. But most of the time, I'm just using that other graph up there for waypoints. So I just, to save some money, I'm just going to take the 12 that I have on my John boat, put it on my big boat, and then take it back off. We're just going to go back and forth on it, just for the time being. And then I may later on down the road may make some adjustments on that. But that's electronics. Of course, I got to go to 0.1 antenna. I think the 0.1 antenna is critical for Lowrance. It shows the heading of your boat. It shows which way your boat is facing. There's nothing more annoying than your map spinning like this and you don't know exactly where you're at when you're trying to cast to something. I mean, with forward-facing sonar, as long as you got an idea of where your brush pile or whatever you're fishing, you know, you can see it. So the map twisting is not that big a deal, but it's super annoying. So we got the 0.1 antenna. Don says, if you have the option for a hydraulic jack plate, I would highly recommend it. Best thing I've ever had on a bass boat as far as performance. Yeah, well, we'll see. Right now, I just got a manual one. I totally understand running rough water, skinny water. What's up, Michael? I got to get down there with you. You've been catching them pretty good down there on the big pond. Yeah, weather sucks. Talking about clutch, I guess. They are making some good stuff. Yeah, I agree, man. That boat deck or that padding is the deal. I might go Thursday. I actually have Thursday off. I'm going Sunday for sure. I saw 39 on Sunday and 26 in the morning. Thanks, James. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy with the color. I mean, Prince was man enough to hold down the purple color. I think I could pull it off. No, I thought about it, man. I thought about it. I'd like to have it. I might get one of those. Was it precision sonar that makes the shorty mount? You know, those mounts that they sit up for your scope graph a little bit off the deck. I think they got one that's a shorter one. It's like 19 inches or something. I don't know, man. I've talked to people that have those, and they say they don't get in the way. But it would be nice. It'd be nice to get it up off the ground a little bit. Keep you from getting tech neck so bad. I mean, I don't need a chiropractor bill, and you can already feel it a little bit. I blew out my shoes, man. I had a new set of Gel Nimbus Asics. You know, they're high end shoes. They're 140. And I don't buy a lot of shoes. I mean, I run a shoe until it just gets a hole in it. That's just how I roll. But I bought some of these, and I had them on the first day I wore them out. This is the summertime. From scoping, you got one foot up on the trolling motor all the time, and you're leaning weird. It's hard on your body, man. Anyway, long story short, I cheated that sole, the insert over, and basically I ruined the shoe from putting too much pressure on the side of my shoe. So just a helpful tip out there, be careful wearing new shoes when you're scoping, because you can mess them up. It's like, I think that's why the best scopers are barefooted, have flip-flops on. Yeah, Daniel T. Lead can only drain to like 50% before it starts to hurt in the battery. And lithium, you can drain. Yeah. And the cool thing about lithium, well, it goes pretty much 100% until it doesn't, you know, so that's good and bad. You get almost the full deal until it's over with. It does drain, like right now, my ionics that I have, when they're fully charged, are like 13.2 volts. They will get down to 12.9, 12.8 as they get down there around like 20%. So there is a little bit of drop off, but nothing like lead acid. And then you get, there's a couple cool things a couple of neat things that I found out about lithium recently when I was kind of researching the Militech batteries. They talk about cycles. Well, on a lead acid, a cycle is draw down and recharge. That's one cycle. Down, recharge. On lithium, the drawdown is a cycle, the recharge is a cycle. So when they say you get 9,000 cycles, you're really getting, 4,500. But that's 100%. Like, if you only draw your lithium battery down 20% and you charge it back up, let's just say you draw it down 25%, you charge it back up 25%, that's a half of a cycle. So you got some numbers to play with there. Another thing that I saw about lithium batteries is you want to drain them down below 80, but not more than 20. It's good for the memory of it. You don't want to draw them down to, they're still at 90%, charge them back up, which is what we typically do with lead acid. Like when I get home, I have lead acid, I get off the lake, I plug in my charger. As soon as I put my boat in the garage, I plug in the charger with lead acid. That's just, and that's, to me, that's been the best way to extend the life of a lead acid battery. I've had batteries last for quite a while doing that. I've always done that. But with lithium, what they're saying is you want to drain them down. So that's the cool thing about having the phone app and the Bluetooth capability of lithium, is you can see how far. You're not guessing like you are with lead acid. You can see how much charge you have. You know how long you fished. I fished for 8 hours. I was on spot lock. I'm sitting out on a point in the wind. I'm using my trolling motor quite a bit. I drew my battery down to 25%. It's still at 75%. So I know when I go fishing the next time that if I'm really, really hard on my battery, I'm using my trolling motor, I'm only going to draw it down to 25%. So you're not worried about being high and dry out there in the water. But instead of coming back and plugging my lithium batteries in after one trip, I know that I've still got 75% charge in them. So I'm going 2 and 3 trips. I'm letting it get down there about, around 25% after my third trip. And then I'm charging it back up. So that's something that they said you want to get in between that 20 and 80% and then charge them. You guys might check that out, but I have heard that from a couple different people. Yeah, you'll Curtis, when I drop that high school bass fishing seminar with Trey, you'll get a feel for that. You get a feel for how his mind works. It's pretty interesting. I was just going back and, it's tedious editing because it just is. but it is kind of cool going back and listening to that. Yeah, that's funny. What's up, Champion Bass? Yeah, it was cool, man. It was a good show. That's always a fun time. I was happy to see that Bluff City Outdoors is carrying the full line of Cumberland Pro Lures. So people that are in the St. Louis area, over in Alton, Illinois, if you want to see, Cumberland Pro Lures, there's not a lot of places that carry Cumberland Pro Lures. I mean, around here we really don't. We got Academy, and that's it. You get down there towards Lake of the Ozarks and Table Rock, you have a lot more options. There's Dunn's and some other places over in Southern Illinois, but if you're up there a little bit further north, Bluff City Outdoors is carrying the full line of Cumberland Pro Lures. So they've got they got the little rock finesse jig, and they got the blah blah block it old school jig or whatever, which oddly enough is a big seller. So good for him. But anyway, it was cool to see them. They had all the Cumberland Pro Lures stuff there at the sports show, so that's cool. Isaac's a good dude. I'm glad that some other people are getting involved in his product. Yeah, man, that's the big one there. I haven't been to that, the East Tennessee Fishing Expo. I've heard it's like pretty cool. Yeah, I'm stoked. So when I get the boat, guys, I'm going to, when it comes in, I'm going to drive down to ACS Marine, and we're going to do a video down there. Just, I'm going to try to, hopefully Mateo will be there, and Jake will be there. And we just talk a little bit about Phoenix and the ACS Marine stuff. I'm hoping to maybe do some stuff with ACS in the future. So we'll do that video, and then I'll do a breakdown. I'll just go through my boat and, do the traditional breakdown video that everybody does, but we'll break it down one more time, talk about it. So that's a couple videos that'll be coming up. Yeah, Michael. It was good seeing you too. I'm glad you came up and said hi. I haven't worked on that video yet, but I caught some pretty good fish there in that little location. What's up, Uncle Ron? Good to see you. Dalton says he regrets buying a 721. If he ever bought a Phoenix again, it would be the 9 series, although it may have fixed the 721 issues with the updated hull. What was wrong with it? It's interesting. I mean, I've ridden in a 721 the last 4 years, maybe. So a 2021 and newer, maybe, something like that. And seems like they've been fine, but I don't know. I'm just riding in them. I'm not like, it's not my boat. I don't know that much about it. Yeah, man, I meant to go see Buka over there. He's a freaking legend. I've got some of the Buka Brands trick shad they came out with. It's like a 6 or 7 inch trick shad. They're pretty sweet looking, man. They're a good price point. I mean, I know they're not a resin, they're just ABS, but they're, I kind of got them late this fall, and I threw them a couple times, and they look pretty good. They look really good, actually. I got some really good colors, and they're like $40. So that's definitely not ridiculous for a big old glide bait. It's not a really big glide bait. You throw it and you're like, I can see a lot of fish eating that. I can see a 2-pounder eating that. I can see a 7-pounder eating that. It's not like a giant glide bait, but it's big enough to get, it's big enough to get the fish's attention, but not so big that you feel like you're not ever going to get a bite on it. But that's something I plan on getting into more next season, or this year. It's always season, but this year I plan on fishing them a lot more. Williamson County Pavilion Show in Marion, Illinois. I don't know, John. I hadn't thought about that. Maybe I can jump in the boat, or we can jump in the vehicle with Uncle Ron, and we can go up there and check that out. Oh yeah, you're right. Thank you. I do want to do that. I do want to make that trip. I want to put Sophia on some crappie. That's so much fun. You know, I got to fish with Ron. It's been several years, but Ron took me crappie fishing, man. We had fun that day. We caught a lot of fish. And it's something about taking somebody that doesn't fish a whole lot, as far as, you know, like your daughter, your wife, your mom, and just getting their line tight, whether it's crappie, catfish, or bluegill. It's just, it's fun, man. It's a good time. Yep. Trying to keep it out of the ditch, brother. I think they got those glasses already, Curtis. I mean, I think they got live scope glasses. I don't think that that's going to take off. But if that's what you're talking about, they are out there. They are out there. Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Me too, man. I felt good about it. It feels like the right thing. I mean, I had a couple people say, I had one guy on a live stream. I can't remember when it was, but he'd won a boat and he got it, and he said it was the best decision he'd ever made. And you know, like my wife said, she's like, we've talked about this on live stream before, but you got to pay income tax. So that $50,000 certificate is taxed as income. So it comes out to be like $15,000, which luckily I figured out a way that's going to help me on that. But when I won that boat and came home, you know, we were really excited about it. But my wife also reminded me that we weren't in the market for a boat. And she was referring to the money that we were going to have to pay as far as income tax. And it's one thing to be looking for a boat and already planning on, you know, paying extra for a boat, and then you win one. Yeah, that's the berries, right? But then when you're not really in the market for one, which secretly I've always kind of in the back of my head wanting to get a new boat. But I wasn't actively seeking it because financially it may not be the wisest decision. But you know, regardless, I was reminded that you know, we weren't exactly looking to spend extra money on something. But she also said, you've been working really, really hard on this, you know, for however many years. And this is all you. You know, you put in the time and the effort, you know, fishing all these hours and doing whatever you do, and you won this boat. So we can make it work. And that's what we did. We went ahead and pulled the trigger on it. And I'm excited about it. But you're right, Robert. I'm glad I finally got it. You know, it was tough to do because, you know, part of me wanted to sell that certificate and take that money and invest it back into the family, you know, like put that money towards maybe a car for my other daughter. Right now they're sharing cars, which is totally fine. But, you know, 2 years down the road, they're going to be going to college and they're probably going to be splitting up. And we only got one car. So that's something that we're going to have to deal with later on down the road. But I also knew that if I didn't get a boat, I'm a tight ass. I'm just not going to go out and buy a boat. I probably wouldn't if I didn't have like a big chunk of money to put towards it. So I just would be perfectly content fishing out of my 16-footer and, you know, the Ranger on occasion. That's just how I am. I knew I wouldn't be able to cough up that money. So this was the best case scenario to do it. So long story short, yeah, I'm glad I'm getting the boat. I feel good about it now. I'm at peace with it. I'm excited. Yeah, Beatdown's got one too. That's right. That's a cool little mount. It's a cool idea. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe getting one of those. I don't know. There is something about kind of being a incognito scoper too. You got that big elevated mount. It's like you're a scoper. You are a scoper. It's like when I'm on the lake with my chest cam and a chesty, people know you are filming. You got that big gaudy mount up there. It's like scoper, which, you know, whatever. But if you've got just something that's kind of more subtle, you can be kind of a little more sneaky about it. Y'all know what I'm saying. Yep. Pickwick, that's right, man. I was pissed too. I'm like, dang, these are brand new shoes, and you can't get them back. I pushed once that memory is created in the sole of your shoe from you leaning on it. It's like part of the shoe now. I like as I'm standing around, I'm always like pushing against it, trying to get to straighten back out, and it's done. Yeah, 6 inches. That's right. They're pretty sweet, man. They got some cool colors. They got some pretty cool, like gizzard shad that's kind of matted, and they got some that's, I mean, they got some legitimate looking colors. So I'm excited about throwing those around when the water gets just slightly warmer. I'm gonna be putting one of those in my hands and covering some water. I got a Phoenix Feather. It's like a 7'7". It's extra heavy, and it seems to be just fine for that bait. And it's not like a super heavy bait. I think it's like a little over 2 ounces or something. Cypress Bay. You need to talk to Darius. He was on here. 26th through the 3rd. Man, that should be on. That should be on. You should be smallmouth. They'll be probably towards the end. You know, they'll start a little earlier. Of course, it depends on the weather. But, you know, March, April, and some of May is a smallmouth thing. But you should be right in the middle of the largemouth spawn too. You should catch some fish, man. You should catch some fish. I mean, I would be fishing shallow bars and backs of coves and pockets, backs of bays. They call them bays down there. Get in the backs of those bays. Hopefully the water will be up. If the water's up, I don't know if it'll be up by then. I don't think it's full pool until like the middle of May. But if for some reason the water is up and it's in the flowers, the flowers are the deal. That mustard grass, fish really relate to those flowers. They're hard stems. They get in there and scratch their back, and that's just a good thing to focus on. But I think that's going to be a little bit early for that. But it won't be too early for the spawning deal. I think, man, I'd be looking for those fish spawning. I sold the Ranger last week. I still have it. I got a down payment on it. I'm holding it till the rest of the money comes my way, and then we're going to release it to a new owner. It's still a great boat. It's got a lot of life left in it. It's probably, as far as boat getting out of the hole, that 520 VX hull is phenomenal. It just gets right out of the hole. Just up on pad. It rides really good. You know, it's a 20-foot, 6-inch boat, I believe. So it does good in rough water. And it's a phenomenal platform. It's got 225 on it. It's got like a little over 500 hours. So, I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's got quite a bit more life in it. It's a good boat, man. So I'm glad it's going to somebody that's going to be using it. Yeah, man, the government. I'm glad I don't work for the government. Nope. But we live in the greatest country, man, available, in my opinion. You know, we don't have bombs and stuff flying over our heads, missiles. There's an occasional terrorist attack here and there, but for the most part, things are pretty easy going. And I guess taxes are part of that, but God, I hate taxes. Ugh. As long as they're going towards something good, I don't feel quite as bad about it, but we waste a lot of money on a lot of stupidness. Yeah, the bluegill color looks good. Yep, you're exactly right. I have the same plan too. Same plan. Huh. Okay. It's good to know. Yeah, Darius catches them, man. He's been on that spoon bite down there. He's a fun guy to fish with. I got to go down there. I was pre-fishing for BFL. I think it was this year. and he invited me to jump in the boat with him. We had a great time. Super hospitable. He let me actually fish out of the front of the boat, which was kind of weird. I'm like, this is your boat. He's like, man, I fish by myself all the time. I'm always up in the front. Jump up there, have at it. I got to fish out of the front of the boat all day long. Great conversation. It was a good time. St. Clair, catching them brownies. Man, I miss Mille Lacs. Yeah, you got the 520. It's a great boat. It's a great, even the newer ones. I mean, kind of Rangers quality kind of went down a little bit, but I think they got it back on pace now because I fished out of several of them over the last couple of years, and they still got a nice platform. They're still a really good boat. Anybody's looking for a nitro, my buddy Mike has a 2019. It's a 20-foot nitro. It's been well taken care of. It's been garaged. It's a blue, I think. It's been in several of my videos, and it's pimped out, man. It's got a lot of stuff on it. It's got talons. I think he's got a couple hummingbirds up front, a couple hummingbirds in back or on the console. It's been well taken care of. Carpeted deck. But he's trying to sell that, and he's got a good price. He just posted again on Facebook. I think he's won like $59 for it, which it's a good boat and it's a pretty good price. So if you guys are interested in that, hit me up on the socials and I can send you his way. But I've fished out of it several times. It's a good boat. There's some insight from Daniel. Yeah, Mike's boat is nice. I hear you, Ron. We'll keep talking about it, man. You just got to keep putting it out there. We may both be in a wheelchair, but we'll get it done. Might have to fish off the pier. You guys haven't been to Mille Lacs, man. Holy schmoly. That's ridiculous. Catching like a 5-pound smallmouth on a jerk bait. Just taking Ned rig, drop shot, and jerk bait. If you go up there in May, June, July. And that's really all you need. It's about location. Fish the side of the lake that doesn't have wind for the most part. And move around. Table Rock in March. Anybody on here familiar with Table Rock in March? Traditionally, the times that I fished in March, there's still going to be a good A-rig bite. A lot of guys, if you've got, forward-facing sonar, a lot of that standing timber, Ants Creek, that area is a really good area. That Cumberland City area is a good area in the winter. That's still going to be, water temps are still going to be, high 40s probably, maybe low 50s. Obviously, it depends on, how the winter plays out and the spring plays out. But that A-rig minnow thing is still going to be dominant down there that time of the year. If you're a person that likes to cover some water, it's you could have, especially towards the middle of March. And ideally towards the end of March, that rock crawler deal, that wigglewart deal, that Highland Reservoir, Ozark area cranking deal can definitely be going on. And that's just about, finding those lead-in banks. A lot of times it's, that last deep water in the backs of those coves and stuff. Some of your secondary points covering water with a crankbait. Can be really good. Any red, whatever your favorite red color is. I don't know that it matters all that much. But it's either going to happen or it's not happening. If you want to fish some stained water, you're definitely going to have an option to get in the back of some of those longer creeks. There'll probably be some stain. But that would be my deal. I mean, it might, those smallmouth could be spawning too. Those smallmouth and spots. I've seen it where you can take a Ned rig and you can take a drop shot, beep, and fish those pea gravel points, those kind of flatter points, main lake flatter points, and then just some of the flats on the outsides of those points with the drop shot. You get out there, you know, those fish typically spawn in 9 to 12 foot of water, smallmouth. Most of the time they're going to be 9 to 12, maybe 15, but that 9 to 12 is a good depth range to focus on. You start throwing a drop shot and a Ned rig on some of those main lake points and secondary points in March, and you probably will find some spawning fish. You'll just have to move around. There's traditional areas where they do spawn, but that'd be kind of my plan of attack. If I was really like a scoper and that was really my deal, I like to look at them. It'd be an A rig and a minnow. But if I was somebody that, you know, was fishing without that stuff, and even with the forward facing sonar, I'd do the cranking thing, and then I would look for the bedding fish. That would be kind of my 3 things that I would focus on. But, you know, I fish in Southern Illinois most of the time, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But I kind of know what I'm talking about on that because I've seen it happen a couple times. I'm fishing the LBL division, which is Kentucky Lake and Barkley Lake. And I'm going to fish a couple of the Ozark division. I'm probably going to jump in the Table Rock one, which is early in February, and then some of the Lake of the Ozarks. It just depends. Unfortunately, they did this the last couple of years, John. They overlap some of the LBL division and the Ozark division tournaments. There was a year where I was able to fish all 5 Ozarks and all 5 of the LBL. So that's ideally what I would like to do. But unfortunately, they overlap some. So you have to make a decision on driving 4, 4.5, and 5 hours to fish Ozarks, Table Rock, and Truman, or driving 2 to 2.5 hours to fish Kentucky Lake. I like the diversity. I like to fish those Ozark lakes. But as far as sticking with one division, I'm going to fish all 5 in the LBL and then just kind of pick some of the ones that don't overlap in the Ozark division. And I kind of flirted around with maybe fishing a Toyota series too, because they got 2 on Lake of the Ozarks and 1 on Kentucky, I believe. Do it, Curtis. It's phenomenal. It's a long drive, but man, you catch a lot of 4-pounders. Ron knows it better than I do, but you catch so many 4-pounders that a 4-pounder is catching it's like catching a, you know, like a small slot fish on cedar. You just get used to it. It's crazy to say that a 4-pounder doesn't really turn your head, but it does. You just catch a lot of really quality smallmouth. Oklahoma fishing. I like these questions, man. We'll give away this Baitworks gift card here in just a second. I was only planning on staying on here for an hour, so I'm glad you guys are hanging out with me. Makes it all worthwhile. It was cool. I'm glad I did this. It's a good question. What advice would you give a new angler coming to fish as a co-angler? First thing I would say is approach it as a learning experience. Don't have a bunch of preconceived notions. Just kind of live in the moment. Be prepared, be focused, do your best, but also enjoy the time and learn. You know, you learn by being open. You learn by not wanting to control the situation. When you're trying to guide how things are happening as far as where you're fishing, how your boater is fishing, what he's doing, that kind of thing, you're not going to learn as much. You're going to be, one side of your brain is going to be going, it's going to be chirping, going to be saying, man, why aren't we doing this? Why is he doing that? We should be doing this. I think we can do this. I think we can do that, blah, blah. This isn't going like I want. So half of your brain power is going towards that negative stuff. If you can if you can keep an open mind, you're going to just learn so much more. Certainly, certainly fish hard to the best of your ability, but just be in the moment and try to have the best experience that you can. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to, especially if you're new to tournament fishing, you're going to learn a lot of the stuff that I mentioned earlier about just how a person approaches the lake, the whole morning experience, like actually the day before, the meeting, the texting the person that you're fishing with the next day, coming up with a place that you want to meet in the morning, the following morning. Some guys are open about what they're doing. Some guys are really tight-lipped, so you don't really know until you start fishing. And then you're gonna experience the whole backing the boat in, picking, getting picked up in the morning, and then going through boat check, and then the national anthem, the morning prayer, the feel of being in a marina with 100+ boats all around you, people talking, people cutting up, having a good time. A lot of people haven't seen each other for the whole year. And you might even get to sniff some of that 2-stroke smoke that's becoming more rare. But you get to feel all of that stuff. And you're going to meet some people that you like. You might meet somebody that's a little bit squirrely. But as far as the fishing goes and what to take in that stuff, I keep it simple. When I first got into it, I had a lot of stuff. This was my tackle bag when I first got into it. A couple years in, this was my tackle bag. And then now this is my tackle bag. And these aren't the exact proportions, but what I'm saying is I'm trying to articulate that I started out with bringing a ton of stuff and then I downsized because you just need a couple things of a few things. You don't want to be like left without stuff, but as you fish certain lakes more, you'll know what you need to bring. So take your confidence things. It's not a good, a tournament is not a good time to expand and try to find some secret magic bait and get confidence in it. You want to get confidence in something before you bring it to tournament situation. So fish the baits that you feel confident in and keep it kind of simple. I typically still take like 7 rods, but I'm mainly going to use like 3 or 4 rods. The other rods are just kind of auxiliary rods that I may pick up a cast a few times and put them back down. And the same thing with tackle. I go heavy on soft plastics, just a box or 2 of mixed hard baits with chatter baits and jigs and stuff like that. But you'll figure it out, man. I'll try to do a video. I've done some videos on it, but I haven't done it in a while. Kind of need to do a video like every year or so because you do learn some other stuff. But have fun, man. Just have fun. Get out there. Just enjoy yourself. And yeah, there's certain baits that as a co-angler you do have to have. But we could talk for hours like that. If you can DM me too. Yeah, dude, he's been dominating. Tyler Williams moved to Lake of the Ozarks area. He's been, I think he won the last, I'm not sure if it was the Bass and Bob Winter Series, but he's been kicking butt down there. That just shows you how good of an angler he is. When you move to a new lake and you're starting to catch them, he's fishing against them guys on Lake of the Ozarks. They don't play. There's some sticks down there, and there's a lot of them. There's more sticks on Lake of the Ozarks than there is my neighbor's yard over here after this ice storm. It's you got to bring it down there. There ain't no easy wins down there. You got the Hibdons down there. You got you go down the list. There's like 40 or 50 hammers that live on that lake. So for him to come down there and catch them, it's impressive. I'd like to get him on the live stream sometime too. He's a jig master, and Lake of the Ozarks definitely. If you like to fish a jig, that's one of the places to go. Yeah, there you go. 22 pounds. I'm a little late to the party. You guys already answered. Yeah, them guys go on little streaks. Like Lawson will go on a little streak. He'll pop off like 3 or 4 or 5, top fives, and go quiet for a little bit. Yeah, that's right up his alley. You can get out there and look at them in those brush piles, but you got those jigs and stuff. I mean, you got those docks and stuff. New Year was good, man. New Year was good. We sat around the house, man. I actually stayed up till midnight. I stayed up till like 1. I've been staying up a little bit too late lately. I kind of getting back into playing bass again. You can see my bass right here. So I'll just give you a little tidbit of what's been going on real quick, and then we'll give this Baitworks gift card and then wrap it up, man. So I played in bands off and on over the years, and when I got into this YouTube channel, which I've been doing this for probably 6 years, maybe 7 years. It's been a while. I know I should have more subs, but it's a marathon. It is a marathon, not a sprint. But anyway, when I had kids and then I got into this YouTube thing, I kind of got away from playing music. Now I would still, 5, 6 years ago, I was still playing music pretty consistently, just not playing out. I wasn't playing gigs and stuff. I play bass, but I'd play it. My buddy Jeremy has a studio. He lives, 15 minutes away, and he's a phenomenal drummer. I played several bands with him. He's always interacted with me about playing, always trying to get me to come over to play, but I just haven't had a ton of interest in it, just to be honest. I mean, fishing has been on my mind nonstop, and doing this YouTube channel, it takes a lot of time. We got family, we got work, we got sleep, we got to work out, we got to eat. And then the time that I have left, I've been donating to creating content. It takes a lot, it is what it is, man. I enjoy it, but it's well worth it, but you don't have a lot of spare time. So I've kind of put music on the back burner there. I mean, I still pick up my bass. Like, to be quite honest, I went like almost a year and some change without picking up my bass. But my buddy Jeremy, he's still chirping at me and off in the distance. He'll shoot me a text every once in a while just to let me know it's still available out there. All I got to do is get over there and get some of it. And I was able to go over there last week, and man, I had fun. It was good. He's been playing. He plays with a bunch of different people, a bunch of different groups of people. He's just got little projects going here and there. He played in his church for quite a while. He's stepping back just slightly from that, but he tried to get me to come play in the church too. But I can't commit to a Sunday deal because I'm fishing too much, and I don't want to get in a church band and then have to be basically calling in sick a couple times a month because I need to go, fish tournaments or whatever. I can't commit to that right now. So, I've had the opportunity to play in the Cowboy church, which is the church that we go to up the road here. It's a good church, but like I said, I just can't do it. I don't want to do that. Them church musicians, man, they're consistent. They're regularly, you got to show up when you're playing music for God. And, I can't commit to that at the moment. So I wasn't able to do that, but I've had that opportunity. But he's been playing with several different people. And when I went over the other night, he had some tracks recorded with a couple different groups. And man, it was fun just playing over those tracks because they didn't have any bass on them. It's just drums, guitar, and vocals. So I'm able to, some of them he sent to my phone. So I'm able to, play to them through the Bluetooth speaker and just jam to them. And it's something about playing to original music and being able to lay down a bass line over original music. It kind of got me, it's got me into the music thing a little bit. So we've been playing some bass, and we've been having some late nights. So that's kind of what's been happening since the New Year's. I've gotten a little bit back into music, and I'm going to be going over there and I think maybe once or twice this week, Thursday or Saturday or something. Anyway, I'm supposed to go over there, and I'm going to actually lay down some bass tracks on some of this stuff in his studio. So y'all might see some THM music stuff coming out here for too long. He does videos. His channel is called Little Drummer channel. He's got a YouTube channel. He's got a bunch of really kick-ass drum videos on there. He's a great drummer. Excellent dude. Super, super, super good dude. You know, one of my best friends of all times. Really phenomenal drummer. He does really good video work and audio. He's a nerd about tweaking his audio and getting it sounding just right. But Little Drummer channel, go check it out. I do have some videos on there from a while back. I played on there in the past. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to get back into the music stuff a little bit. So, you know, I'm still going to try to, you know, stay on top of the content. At least one video, maybe try to get 2 videos a week, but just a little slight change maybe. But it feels good. It feels good. You know, if you have if you do something musically or you do something artistic, you know, this YouTube channel has been kind of the artistic thing since the music fell away. But if you got something in you that needs to get out, it can get pinned up. Whatever it is, man. Everybody's got their own deal that they do. If you get away from it, it's still part of you. You know, it kind of festers up in there. And then once you get it out, you're like, yeah, that felt good. I need to do that. So that's kind of where we're at with the music thing right now. But it feels good, you know, and it's like riding a bike. You know, I'm not as fast because I haven't been doing the reps, but I can still play. You know, I was kind of surprised. You always wonder, well, can you still play? You're just gonna really suck it up, but yeah, we're all right. Yeah, that's right. Chip in on gas money. You know, it's $40 to $60 is what I typically pay my boater. Some guys don't want any. Most guys do. Kind of gotta. If they tell you no, they tell you no. Just at least give them $20. Just I always say, man, I feel better if I at least give you something, because they're spending a lot of money practicing, a lot of money during the tournament. What should you do if your pro always decides to leave a spot as soon as you co-angler start catching them? Well, I don't know. That's a good question, Rex. To me, that doesn't make any sense at all. The way I look at it, if somebody's catching fish, and not if they're just catching one fish, and then you go 15 minutes without catching another fish, but if somebody in the boat is catching fish, that means there's fish in the area and there's fish biting. And I think it'd probably be in your best interest to stay there. And, you know, if I'm a boater and my co-angler's catching fish behind me, I'm going to find out what he's throwing. If I'm throwing a jig and he's throwing a shaky head and he's catching on 3 or 4 to my 1 or 2 to 1 or whatever, he's getting more bites than me. I want to find out what he's throwing. And I'm not too hard-headed, too stubborn to switch. Because if they're not biting a jig, they're not biting a jig. So, you know, there's been times where I've keyed my boater in on what they were biting on for the same reasons. I'm catching some fish and he's not. You know, next thing you know, we're both throwing the same thing and we're both having a good time catching fish. Which sometimes as a co-angler, you want to kind of keep that hush, you know, because as soon as he ties on that same bait, he's getting first cast at those fish and you're probably not going to catch them. But yeah, I think if you're catching fish, you want to stay in that area for a little bit. Yeah, you got to move right with them. I always tell my buddy Doug Cheatham one time, he was fishing out of the back of the boat. And I said, well, let's move. And he goes, I'll just follow you. And I thought that was pretty funny because what else are you going to do? You're just going to follow him. Bass tournament. I like that, Andy. It's one of those words. I can't remember what they call those, but it's like the same spelling, but it means 2 different things. Bass and bass. I got it covered with one word. Yeah, dude, that's funny. Have like WWF Raw or WWE Raw. That was hilarious. I had no idea that they didn't get along. If that happens again, I'll dive into it a little bit more. Not necessarily with those two guys, but if I'm interviewing somebody and they got a little bit of beef with somebody, I'll try to navigate that to get a little more details. That was pretty funny. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why somebody would do that. Unless it's small fish. I mean, if you're a lot of times, not always, but fish have a tendency to school by size for the most part. But if you're, let's just go hypothetical or theoretically or whatever the word is. If your boater has, let's just say he has 17 pounds in the box. Okay. Well, he's looking for a 4-pound fish. Maybe he's got seven. Let's say 17. He's got 17 pounds and he's got 2 fish that are 2 pounds that he needs to get rid of. He's head hunting. He's looking for a little bit better quality fish. You know, maybe a keeper, a 15-inch keeper is 1.5 pounds, or, you know, a 16-inch keeper is 2 pounds. Maybe you're in an area and you're catching 2-pounders. It's not doing him any good. He's looking for a 3.5 pounder. Okay. So even though you're catching 2.5 pounders, he's looking for that better quality fish. So in that scenario, I could see maybe him wanting to move. Because I've had that too. I've had that where you're settling into an area and you're starting to get some bites, and then next thing you know, you're moving, going to somewhere else, and you're just kind of starting to get some confidence in an area, and then you got to start all over. But I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of different scenarios where that may make sense to him, but I don't know exactly. But I'm sorry you had to experience that, and luckily it's not usually like that. I could do that. I've thought about that and just having a THM theme song. There we go. More grabs. Curtis. He's crafty with words. Got to meet him too. That was cool. It's good to meet you. All right, let's give away something here. You're gonna have to give me a second here. I didn't pull this up before the stream, so we'll get to the giveaway tool. It's kind of cool having a PC versus that laptop. So much more efficient. Because I'm like kind of a chicken pecker as far as typing goes. Let's do and laptop is really hard to type on. Okay, we're going to pull this up. All right, there you go. Hashtag capital BOAT if you want to get in the drawing for the $25 Baitworks gift card. And if you don't win, you can still use the code THM10 and get you 10% off your order. Go check it out. They are they're gonna be running some specials, I'm sure. They typically do that. They do little flash sales and stuff. It's over the holidays, things are moving slow, but they'll get banging again here shortly. And like I said earlier, this sniping braid, if you guys want to get some braid that is really good and it won't break the bank, go check it out. You got a bunch of different colors, a bunch of different sizes. Matt's a good dude, 3-pound fishing. But I think you just go to snipingbraid.com and take you there. They have the bass braid too. which, you know, we're really not using this stuff right now. It comes in, this is something they just came out with. They got 40, 50, and 60 pound. I've got it rigged up for my frog and my punching and some top water stuff, but we're not really, you know, this is something that's going to come into play like April, maybe. It's kind of when you maybe start getting that first top water frog bite. But it's an 8-strand braid, and it's made out of the most recent technology. The, what do they call it? Recent fibers, the newest fibers or whatever. But it's good stuff, man. Like I said, it's like, I think full price is like $14 for this braid. But they had it on sale for $10 at the boat show, which is pretty awesome. But the sniping braid is something that we're using right now. You guys that are finesse fishermen on spinning rod, 15-pound braid is, I mean, you always got to have that. I got to replace mine too. Mine's all twisted up. I keep going with it and going with it. And then you get that, you make a cast and then you get that big wind knot, you know, so you got, it's like 20 yards of braid and there's this huge, big, nasty knot. That happened to me the other day. I was able to actually pull it out. Couldn't believe it, but I was able to actually pull it out. And then, you know, you can, if you ever get like a twisted line on a spinning rod, and this will work on a bait caster, but typically you don't get it on the bait caster, but you can just cut your bait off and then just feed a bunch of line out behind your boat while you got it in idle and just keep feeding it out. And you get about, I don't know, like 70 yards out there, click your bell and just hold it and drag it. And theoretically, the friction of the top of the water in your line kind of like pulls the twist out. It doesn't work all the time, but it does work a little bit. So that's one way to do that. But ideally, it comes a point where you just got to replace your braid. So that's where I'm at. I gotta pull that stuff off and put some new stuff on there. Anything else you guys want to chat about real quick before we give this away? It's like 10 o'clock left, 10 o'clock. I hope everybody had a good Christmas, good New Year. Look at this guy. Yeah, and one other thing. Yeah, Mike. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, I'm right there, man. I actually want to play my bass a little bit when I get off of here. One more thing real quick. I don't talk about this very much, but this is going in my new boat. The Auto Trieve. And I'm sure some people on here have heard of this. Some people have not. My buddy Doug Cheatham owns this company. This is an American-made product. Every part of it is made in America, which is pretty rare, especially for some device like this. He's had the opportunity to get parts imported and save money on it, you know, have a bigger profit margin, but he can tell you exactly where every piece of this is made at, but he's kept it in America. And there's something special about this. This is a super handy tool. It's called the Auto Trieve. So let's, this is the deck of your boat right here. This is what's sticking up above your boat right here. Okay. This, the retractable section is underneath the deck of your boat, so you don't see it. Okay. Now visualize that. What you do is you take this Hound Dog retriever, or if you want the 44 Magnum, Phil Crowfoot makes an auto retriever too. But this is the Jewel Hound Dog. This is the one that Doug sells. And Gail Julian, happy birthday to Gail. He just turned however long or however old he is, however young he is, but his birthday was recent. And Gail's a super cool guy. But anyway, Jewel Hound Dog lure retriever goes. You guys just deal with me for just a little bit longer. I got excited about this, and then we'll draw that thing. The lure retriever ties onto this right there, and this is retractable. Okay, so visualize this sitting above on your front deck, and then you got a lure retriever. When you get hung up, instead of having that reel on a broke, part of a pole, and you got to push the button, pull it all out, and it's just a pain in the butt. Or you've got the marker buoy, where you got your lure retriever wrapped around the marker buoy. That's how we've done it for years. And the only reason we like it is because we don't know any better. When you get something like this, it's a game changer. Not a big fan of that phrase, but it really is a game changer. It's right at your feet. You reach down there, you grab that lure retriever, clip it on your line, get your bait off, take it off of your line, set it down, and it just retrieves. Trust me, it's like $60, $50, something like that. But this is one of the first things that's going to go on my new boat, because I've got it on my John boat. And it's one of those deals where once you get it, you're like, why in the heck did I not get that on there sooner? There's a lot of things like that where we have something that works and we're okay with that thing that kind of halfway works. And we don't realize that it doesn't work near as well as the better thing, which this is the better thing. So if you guys are boat owners, seriously, it's a great winter project. You drill like a 1/2-inch hole in the deck of your boat, which is the hardest thing to do. That's the hardest thing about this install, is actually drilling through your boat. Trust me, it's worth it. He's got a big flat washer that covers the hole up. You'll be happy that you did this come springtime. It works great on anything. I think it's got like 50 yards of 300-pound trout line. So it works for everything. It works for like shaky heads, Ned rigs, not just crankbaits and treble hook baits. Kind of works on A rigs. It's 50-50 on that, but everything is on A rigs. But for most baits, it works, and it's so much easier. It's a pain in the ass, like grabbing, that lure retriever that's on an old reel or on a buoy marker. It's just a lot. It's a pain. This thing is not a pain. It'll make you, a lot of times we get hung up and we go in there and we reel down on it and poke it with our rod tip. I mean, you're going to break the inserts out of your rod guides a lot of times doing that. This is so easy that you won't do that. You'll just reach up, grab it, clip it on there. Even when you can see it, slide it down there, pop it, pull it back up. So it's going to save your rods. And no, I'm not sponsored by Doug. He's a really good friend. He's a really good guy. He's making a really good product. And it's kind of disappointing that more people don't have this on their boat, because I think they're missing out. Like I said, it's one of those things that we overlook, that we don't think is that important until we have something that works superior to the way that most of us do that. So Auto Trieve, check it out. It's going in my new boat for sure. I've saved thousands. I'm not kidding you. I've saved thousands of dollars. It's one of those deals where it will pay for itself the first time you have it in your boat. It really will. And you will say, I should have got that a whole lot sooner. Yeah, see, there's several people that have it. Wade has got one. No, I didn't talk to Steve. I was trying to get Polinick to come on the live stream, and I still may have a connection to get that done. But the conversation just didn't present itself, and I never did see Kennedy. Yeah, William knows what's up. I'm serious, man. It's awesome. A lot of people, it's cool to see a lot of people do have them. I mean, I think they should sell them. I think they should be installed in every boat. It should be like an option. Like, you got the padded carpet, you got the sea deck, you got the Auto Trieve. I think it should be an option. Yes, he does, Andy. Thanks. He also, if you don't want to drill a hole in your boat, he makes one. They just came out with one that's got it's got like a cable tie that will actually mount to your seat post. You guys that have the butt seat, the pedestal up front, he's got one that mounts to the pole. Stays right below you. Just same concept. You just reach down below you. Boom. If you don't like the idea of drilling a hole in your boat, it's right there, and you can put it. You can have one in the back too for the guy that's in the back of the boat. But good call, Andy. I forgot about that. That's kind of a newer addition to the Auto Trieve line. Yeah, you're right, Daniel. I think that's right. If you buy the auto Trieve and the Hound Dog, you get free shipping. So, all right, let's give this away. You guys have waited long enough. All right, here we go. John, wise decision, my man. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right, John, hit me up on Facebook at Gabe Montgomery Fishing, 10 Horse Monty, or Instagram, 10 Horse Monty 6. And I'll get a code over to you sometime in the next couple of days. I got to get some more codes from Baitworks. So we'll get that taken care of. And like I said, if you want to go check out Baitworks, THM10 gets you 10% off. And they got some pretty cool stuff in the bargain cove. Yeah, Michael, I'm gonna hit you up, Michael, sometime. Try to get down there and jump the boat with you. Okay, we'll wrap this up. Mike, good evening. Thanks. I appreciate everybody coming and hanging out with us tonight. It was a lot of fun, man. It was nice to just kind of spit some stuff out there, and great interaction, a lot of great comments. Always enjoy this. Trying to do it next Tuesday. I got a couple videos coming up this week. I'll have one of those high school bass fishing seminars probably drop this week, and then another just traditional video. And we'll try to do same thing next week. And then we're going to try to get the dude that was the MLF boat official on next Tuesday. If that doesn't work out, I got some more people that I can reach out to, but we'll try to get back in the groove. But everybody drive safe. We got some snow coming soon. Get out on the water. If we get one of those days where it's above freezing, get out there, because they are biting. You just got to slow down. But it's like a jerkbait A-rig type of deal right now, I imagine, with all this cold weather. But always enjoyed it. Thanks for all the support, and till next time.